Here is the complete, unabridged adaptation of the story, localized to a United States setting with appropriate cultural, geographical, and monetary adjustments, while preserving every single detail, plot point, and the original's dramatic tone. My monthly salary had just been bumped up to $15,000, and immediately, my husband brought his half-paralyzed mother into our home, claiming it would be easier for me to care for her. One day, after forgetting my office keycard, I sneaked back inside only to see her jumping around energetically, yelling at my husband, "You better trade her in for a new model soon, for my sake." I smiled coldly, determined to make them pay a heavy price. The notification chime of my direct deposit echoed, pulling me out of my chaotic thoughts of numbers and end-of-month reports. I looked at my phone screen. The $15,000 figure sat neatly in the banking app's notification. It was a number that, 5 years ago, when I first stepped into the industry, I wouldn't have dared to dream of. I am Chloe, 30 years old, the creative director of a renowned media agency in Seattle. Outsiders looking in always gasped in admiration. They said I had it made: a modern woman, a thriving career, and a happy marriage. But you only know where the shoe pinches when you wear it. That supposed perfection was actually as fragile as a soap bubble. Hunter, my husband, was a regular administrative worker with a salary barely a third of mine. I never considered that a problem because I believed marriage was about compensating for each other. If one is good at making money, the other takes care of the house, as long as husband and wife are on the same page. But the storm began the day Hunter whispered to me about bringing his mother from rural Idaho to live with us. He held my hands, his voice choking up. "Chloe, my mom is all alone back home. She just had a mild stroke, and now her left side is paralyzed. I'm her only son. If I don't bring her here to take care of her, I'm unfilial. If something happens to her out there, I'd regret it for the rest of my life." Seeing my husband's red, teary eyes, my heart sank. I've always been an emotional person, and having lost my own mother early, I deeply cherished maternal bonds. Despite being incredibly busy with work, I nodded in agreement. This 3-bedroom condo downtown was bought with my savings before we got married. Adding a mother-in-law wouldn't make it too cramped. It just meant an extra plate, an extra pair of utensils, and someone else to care for. Little did I know, that nod was the moment I opened the door to let wolves into my home. Martha, my mother-in-law, arrived in the city, looking frail. One arm hung limply, her leg dragged when she walked, and her mouth was always twisted in a groan. Feeling sorry for her, I hired a part-time maid to clean the house. As for her meals and medication, I personally took care of them every evening. But Martha was more difficult than I imagined. She complained the soup was bland, the rice was dry, and criticized me for coming home late and neglecting the house. There were nights when, right after I laid down after an exhausting day, she would bang on my door, demanding I get up to help her to the bathroom, even though I had bought a bedside commode for her. Hunter only ever had one thing to say: "She's old and sick, just be patient with her." This morning was the same. After a sleepless night because Martha was groaning about her joint pain, I hastily put on some light makeup to make it to the Monday morning meeting. My head was spinning with a new project. I rushed out of the house like a gust of wind, only to realize halfway there in my Uber that I had left my ID badge on the vanity. Without it, I couldn't get past the building's security turnstiles. I sighed and asked the driver to turn around. Arriving at my condo building, I glanced at my watch. I could still make it if I hurried. I quietly unlocked the door with my fingerprint, intending to sneak in, grab the badge, and leave without waking my mother-in-law. But as soon as I pushed open the heavy oak door, a scene struck my eyes that made me freeze, the blood in my veins turning to ice. In the living room, classic Dolly Parton country music was blaring from the large screen TV. Martha, the half-paralyzed mother-in-law, whom I had to support step by step to the bathroom last night, was standing in the middle of the room. Her arms were swinging, and she was bouncing to the rhythm with astonishing agility. She held a feather duster, twirling it around, laughing uproariously without a single sign of someone who had suffered a stroke. Hunter was sitting on the sofa, holding his phone, recording his mother and laughing hysterically. "Mom, your acting is too good. Yesterday, I saw Chloe's face turn pale when you moaned about your stomach hurting. Martha stopped, put her hands on her hips, her voice booming and healthy, completely different from her usual weak, breathy tone. I told you, just listen to me. That wife of yours is an idiot. I just have to fake being sick a little, and she serves me like a queen. But hey, what's the plan? Daisy is about to pop. You better trade her in for a new model soon. For my sake. This family needs a proper heir to carry on the name, not some woman who only knows how to bury her head in making money. It's been 3 years, and she hasn't given me a grandson. Throw her to the dogs. I stood rooted to the spot outside the door, gripping my purse so tightly, my nails dug painfully into my skin. Every word from my mother-in-law was like a sharp knife slashing my soul. It turned out my filial piety, my patience, and my tolerance all this time were just a joke in their eyes. Hunter, the husband I shared a bed with, was teaming up with his mother to deceive me so blatantly. Hunter chuckled and replied, "Don't worry, Mom, I'm working on it. I just need to squeeze a little more money out of her first. She got a raise this month. Yesterday I saw the notification, $15,000. Mom, let her fund us for a little longer, and then I'll bring Daisy and the baby home. Yeah, you better handle it. Remember to buy Daisy some good prenatal supplements. My precious grandson is way more important than your useless wife." Martha scoffed, tossed the feather duster onto the chair, and casually strode into the kitchen to pour a glass of water, her gait faster and more agile than a teenager's. I clamped a hand over my mouth to stop a choked sob from escaping. My entire world collapsed. The wooden door in front of me didn't just separate me from my house. It separated me from the illusion of happiness I had painstakingly built over the past 3 years. Asterisk. Trade her in. Daisy. Grandson. Asterisk. Those words danced in my head, forming a cruel tornado that swept away whatever marital affection remained. I took a step back, hot tears streaming down my face, but my heart felt as cold as ice. I wanted to storm in, scream to release my resentment, flip that hypocritical coffee table, and expose their bastardly faces. But my hand, reaching to push the door, stopped midair. The logic of a woman who had spent years in corporate management pulled me back to cruel reality. If I went in now, they would deny everything. They might even gaslight me, saying I was hallucinating, or Martha would drop to the floor and fake a seizure. I had no evidence in my hands other than my eyes and ears. Words are just wind. Who would believe me? In front of everyone, Hunter always played the model husband, and Martha was a pitiful, sick old woman. I quietly pulled the door shut, every movement as gentle as a thief in my own home. I backed away toward the elevator, walking like a ghost. I collapsed onto the steps of the emergency stairwell, my whole body trembling uncontrollably. Anger and pain blended together, forming a heavy boulder on my chest that made it hard to breathe. I recalled the times Hunter made vague, passive-aggressive remarks about having kids, the times he sighed heavily when I brought work home at night. It turned out it was all paving the way for a despicable plot. Not only was he having an affair, but he also had a child on the way. And now, he and his mother were planning to trade me in, leaving me with absolutely nothing after draining my labor and money. Asterisk. Fine, Hunter. You want to act? I'll act with you, until the final curtain. Asterisk, I muttered, wiping away the tears on my cheeks. I took out my phone and texted my boss, asking to be an hour late due to a sudden family emergency. Then, I took an Uber straight to a Spytech electronics store downtown. I bought 3 micro cameras, the most sophisticated, disguised types, one hidden in a fake potted plant, one in a wall outlet, and one in a power bank. Holding these tiny devices, a bitter feeling washed over me. I never thought there would come a day when I'd have to use these to monitor the people I called family. But the naked truth had just taught me a costly lesson. The human heart is the hardest thing to predict, and blind trust is a poison you drink yourself. I returned home an hour later. Before opening the door, I took a deep breath, adjusted my facial muscles, and forced a tired but caring smile. The door opened. Inside, the country music was off. Martha was lying flat on the sofa, covered with a thin blanket, groaning. Hunter sat next to her, massaging her leg, looking deeply worried. Seeing me, he looked up, a flash of startle in his eyes, which quickly morphed into reproach. "Why are you back at this hour? Did you forget your badge? Mom's leg is hurting so much, she was waiting for you to make her oatmeal, but you were nowhere to be seen." Watching the clumsy theatrical performance before me, I suppressed the nausea rising in my throat. I stepped in, my voice maintaining its usual apologetic tone. "I'm sorry, I forgot my badge, so I had to come back. I stopped by the pharmacy to get Mom some supplements on the way. Does it hurt a lot, Mom? Let me go make the oatmeal right now." Martha opened one eye to look at me, then squeezed it shut. She wheezed, "It hurts. It hurts so much, Chloe. This leg is probably going to be useless soon. Hurry up and cook. I'm shaking from hunger." I said yes and quickly went into the bedroom to put my bag down. Taking advantage of Hunter busy playing the filial son in the living room, I swiftly plugged the outlet camera into the wall facing our bed. The second one, I cleverly placed into the fake floral arrangement on the TV console, which had the best wide-angle view of the living room. I planned to find a chance to install the last one in Martha's room later. Dinner that night was suffocating. I sat watching Hunter tenderly put food on his mother's plate, watching Martha's hand tremble as she brought the spoon to her mouth. My tears almost spilled over. Not from being moved, but from disgust. I was disgusted by the very food I had cooked, disgusted by this fake, cozy family atmosphere. That night, lying next to Hunter, I heard his steady snoring. Usually, that sound made me feel safe. But tonight, it sounded like the hiss of a venomous snake hibernating, waiting for the day to strike its prey. I curled up at the very edge of the bed, trying not to let my skin touch his. In the darkness, I opened my phone and connected to the cameras. The screen showed the dark, quiet living room, but I knew that tomorrow, when I stepped out the door, that place would turn into a stage for the most wretched play. I recalled the amounts of money Hunter had been asking for recently. $500 for a relative's wedding gift, $1,500 for car repairs, $300 for his mom's special herbal medicines. Those petty amounts, when strung together, suddenly became incredibly suspicious. My hard-earned money wasn't for car repairs or medicine. It was to fatten up another woman and the child in her belly. "Trade me in?" Asterisk, I smirked, a cold smile appearing in the dark. Asterisk, let's see. "When this roof collapses, who will be crushed first?" Asterisk. At noon that day, the air conditioning in the office was freezing, but I felt like I was sitting on hot coals. I sat huddled in a deserted corner of the pantry, my eyes glued to the live feed from the camera at home. The noise of the city outside seemed pushed far away. All that remained was the pounding of my heart. Martha, my pitiful half-paralyzed mother-in-law, was putting on a slice-of-life performance that, had I not seen it with my own eyes, I would have taken to my grave disbelieving. On the screen, she was marching vigorously around the living room, eating a bagel while watching TV. Occasionally, she would kick my Roomba into the wall because it was in her way. She muttered, "This useless piece of junk running around making my eyes itch, wastes electricity and does nothing." Seeing her healthy and agile, I remembered her trembling, stumbling figure last night when she forced me to feed her every spoonful of oatmeal. A wave of bitter sorrow washed over me. My kindness and devotion were merely toys for their amusement. Just then, the sound of Hunter's ringtone echoed through the video feed. He had come home for lunch. Through the camera, I saw Hunter hurriedly answer, his voice shifting entirely, becoming sweet and whining so different from the gruff tone he used with me lately. He said, "Yeah, I know. Eat well so my little champ stays healthy. Don't worry about a thing, Daisy. I just told Chloe to give me another $2,000 for Mom's medical expenses. I'll Venmo it to you tomorrow to buy baby stuff, okay?" I heard every word clearly, like needles piercing my eardrums. Asterisk Chloe. Asterisk my name was spoken from my husband's mouth so cheaply. The $2,000 for medicine and supplements for his sick mother that I had literally withdrawn from my savings account and given him this morning was actually money to feed his mistress. I turned off the screen, my hands shaking so badly I almost dropped my water glass. The feeling of being betrayed wasn't as painful as the feeling of being looked down upon, being treated like an old mule, plowing the fields to fund someone else's happiness. I took a deep breath, trying to calm down. I opened my banking app and began auditing all my transactions over the past 6 months. Previously, out of trust, I rarely scrutinized the small expenses. But now, with the curtain pulled back, these lifeless numbers spoke volumes. $500, $1,000, $300, transfers with memos like paying back a friend, gift for Idaho relatives, holistic meds. The total amounted to tens of thousands of dollars, no small sum for a regular middle-class family. I asked a close friend, who worked in banking, to discreetly look up the routing details of the most frequent recipient account. 15 minutes later, a text came back with a name. Daisy Miller. Trembling, I typed the phone number linked to the account into Facebook and Instagram. A profile popped up. Staring me in the face was the profile picture of a beautiful, young girl holding a heavily pregnant belly, smiling radiantly. I scrolled through her posts. Daisy checking into upscale steakhouses, expensive resorts, places Hunter had told me he was at for business trips. She showed off expensive gifts, massive bouquets of roses on holidays, accompanied by captions full of innuendo about delayed happiness and her responsible man. The most painful was a photo of designer newborn shoes with the caption, * Daddy H bought these for our little prince. Love Daddy the most, * H, * Hunter. There was no doubt left. I looked down at my own worn-out heels. I looked at the old purse I had used for 3 years, too frugal to replace. A surge of absolute resentment swelled inside me. I had scrimped and saved every penny, sacrificed my smallest personal needs to build this family, only for my blood, sweat, and tears to flow into a third party's pockets, nurturing my husband's child with another woman. The naked truth laid bare before me meant I could no longer cry. My tears seemed to have dried up, making room for a smoldering fire of hatred. I screenshotted all the evidence and saved it to a secure cloud folder. That afternoon, Hunter texted me saying he had to entertain clients and would be home late. Martha shouted through the phone that she was going to physical therapy at the rehab center nearby. I knew exactly what that therapy was. She was going to play bingo or gossip with some ladies she'd met at the local farmer's market. The condo was empty and eerily quiet. But this was the golden opportunity to find the missing puzzle pieces in this picture of betrayal. I stepped into Martha's room. She usually kept it locked when she went out, but today, probably rushing out to enjoy herself, she forgot. The smell of medicinal oils, chewing tobacco, and the musty scent of an old person hit my nose, making me grimace. The room was a mess, clothes draped over chairs, empty pill bottles tossed on the floor. I started searching her closet, lifting the layers of the old, heavy quilts she brought from the country, which she absolutely refused to let me wash or replace. My hand brushed against something hard and cold in the deepest corner of the closet. It was a round, vintage Danish butter cookie tin. The casing was rusted, the kind old folks usually use to store sewing kits. I pulled it out. It felt heavy, and my heart beat faster. An ominous premonition rose in my chest, telling me that inside this box lay secrets darker than mere infidelity. I held my breath and pried the lid open. Click. What I saw made me almost scream in horror. Inside were no cookies and no sewing supplies. It was a tangle of hair, clipped fingernails, carefully wrapped in small pieces of red paper. Next to them was a crude burlap voodoo doll. On the doll's body, my date of birth was scribbled in red ink, and it was pierced with dozens of rusty needles. I stumbled back, covering my mouth to muffle a shriek. I recognized those locks of hair, chestnut and slightly wavy. It was my hair. The nude-painted fingernails were mine, too. She had been secretly collecting them from my hairbrush and the bathroom trash all this time. What kind of dark witchcraft was this? It's the 21st century, and she still believed in these barbaric, superstitious practices to curse her daughter-in-law. Still in shock, I spotted a small, black leather-bound notebook tucked at the bottom of the tin. Trembling, I picked it up and flipped through the pages. Martha's handwriting was a scrawling mess, filled with spelling errors, but the content was chillingly clear. She meticulously recorded the time I came home from work, what I ate, and even my menstrual cycle, marked in bright red. Asterisk, the 15th. Chloe came home late, face looking sullen. Put her hair in her soup. Asterisk, the 18th. Today is her ovulation day. Hunter has to do his job. Praying the curse works so she can't get pregnant. Asterisk, the 20th. Daisy reports the baby is healthy. My grandson kicks hard. The day we kick that barren witch out is coming soon. Asterisk, with every word I read, a chill ran down my spine. I thought she was just a greedy, selfish country bumpkin, but I never expected her heart to be this dark and venomous. She didn't just want to steal my assets and have her son divorce me. She wanted to destroy my reproductive health. She wanted to curse me to death with dark spiritual arts. I slumped onto the cold floor, gripping the notebook tightly. No tears fell. There was only revulsion rising in my throat. What was I living in? A home or a demon's den? The people I called husband and mother, they watched me eat, sleep, and laugh every day with the malicious intent of pushing me toward death. I quickly took out my phone, photographed every piece of evidence in the cookie tin, and took pictures of every single page of that sick notebook. Then, I carefully arranged everything exactly as it was and put the tin back into the dark corner of the closet. I couldn't alert them yet. I needed them to keep acting, to remain overconfident, so I could cast a wider net and catch this entire nest of vipers. Stepping out of Martha's room, I felt like I had just escaped a crypt. The weak afternoon sunlight filtered through the living room window, but it couldn't dispel the coldness enveloping my soul. I looked in the mirror and saw a stranger with sharp, cold eyes staring back at me. That evening, Hunter came home slightly tipsy, reeking of alcohol. He mumbled something about entertaining clients being exhausting, then stumbled into the bathroom. Hunter's habit hadn't changed in years. Drop his briefcase on the chair, leave his laptop on sleep mode rather than shutting it down completely. Normally, I respected his privacy and never snooped on his computer. But today, that respect was an unnecessary luxury. I waited until the sound of the shower running echoed from the bathroom before tiptoeing to the laptop on his desk. I opened it, the screen lit up, asking for a password. I tried Hunter's birthday, then our anniversary. Asterisk, incorrect. Asterisk. My heart raced. An idea flashed in my mind. I remembered the information on Daisy's Facebook page I found earlier. Her birthday was June 12th. I shakily typed ×0612 times, followed by her birth year. Asterisk, enter. Asterisk. The desktop appeared instantly. The pain felt like a physical slap to the face, leaving me dizzy. The password to his computer, the place holding his entire professional world and secrets, was his mistress's birthday. The last fragile shred of hope that Hunter was just having a temporary fling completely vanished. I didn't have much time to grieve. I quickly skimmed through the desktop folders, which looked normal with messy work files, but my intuition told me it wasn't that simple. I went to the drive, looking for generic-sounding folders like References or System 3.2. After poking around, I found a hidden folder named New Project. I clicked it, and a series of image files appeared. They were ultrasound photos, from when it was just a tiny dot to clear 3D images of a fetus sucking its thumb. Beneath each photo was a careful date note, asterisk boy, 12 weeks, boy, 20 weeks, asterisk and the newest, asterisk boy, 26 weeks. Looks exactly like daddy, asterisk. Next to them were explicit, intimate photos of Hunter and Daisy on their business trips. They were hugging, kissing, laughing happily. The look in Hunter's eyes as he looked at her overflowed with an affection he hadn't given me in a long time. But what made my limbs go weak wasn't the photos. It was a PDF file named Promissory Note. I opened it. It was a scanned copy of a loan agreement for a massive $100,000. The borrower was me. The signature at the bottom looked 90% like mine. The lender was some random name I didn't recognize. The memo stated, asterisk loan for failed business investments. Asterisk, I clamped my hand over my mouth to stop myself from cursing out loud. It turned out they had calculated things to this extent. $100,000 in fake debt. If we divorced, this debt would be considered marital debt. Or worse, they would pin it entirely on me, forcing me to sell the condo and my car to pay it off. They wanted me to leave empty-handed, drowning in debt, while they gleefully enjoyed the assets I had worked so hard to build. This was no longer just a simple affair. This was an organized scheme of fraud and asset theft. Hunter didn't just betray me physically. He wanted to drive me to a dead end, stripping away my very future. The water in the bathroom stopped. Startled, I hurriedly plugged the tiny USB flash drive I always carried with me into the computer. I copied the entire new project folder as fast as the system allowed. The progress bar crawled, percent by percent, agonizingly slow. My heart felt like it would leap out of my chest. Asterisk, 90%. 95%. Asterisk Hunter started unlocking the bathroom door. The lock clicked. Asterisk, done. Asterisk I yanked the USB out, slammed the laptop shut, and quickly dove into bed, pulling the covers up to fake sleep. Seconds later, Hunter walked out, towel drying his hair. He glanced toward the bed and muttered, "Sleeping so early. What a useless waste of space." He walked to the desk, opened the laptop to check something briefly, then shut it. I lay under the covers, my back drenched in sweat, clutching the freezing USB in my hand. Tonight would be a long night. But I knew I now held the weapon that would make them pay a heavy price. The next morning, I used the excuse of meeting a client to escape the suffocating air of the office. I met up with Harper, my best friend from college, who is now a prominent attorney specializing in high-stakes divorces and asset disputes. The coffee shop was tucked away in a quiet alley, perfect for conversations that didn't need a third listener. When Harper finished reviewing the evidence I brought from the videos of Martha walking normally, to the ultrasound pictures, to the fake promissory note, her face hardened. Her usual professionalism gave way to anger and deep concern. Harper pushed her glasses up and looked me straight in the eye, her voice grave. "Chloe, you are in an incredibly dangerous position. This isn't a standard infidelity case. Your husband and his mother have meticulously planned to throw you out on the street. That $100,000 promissory note, if you can't prove the signature is forged, you'll be on the hook for that debt. And proving forgery isn't an overnight process, while they can liquidate your joint assets at any moment. Not to mention, that girl Daisy is about to give birth. If you file for divorce now, Hunter will legally bring her and the baby in. You'll lose everything." I gripped my hot coffee cup tightly, feeling the warmth but unable to thaw my freezing heart. "I know, Harper. It hurts so much, but I won't accept this. I want to divorce him right now. I want to kick them out of my life." Harper shook her head, grabbing my hand. "No, absolutely not. You cannot divorce him right now. You are at a disadvantage. If you file the petition, they'll drop that fake debt and demand half the assets, deducting the debt from your share. You'd lose." She paused, lowering her voice to an intense whisper. "And the most important thing, Chloe, you absolutely must not get pregnant right now. If you get pregnant, or if they think you are, things get far more complicated. They could use the baby to tie you down. Or worse, they will find a way to harm the baby if it obstructs their plan to steal your assets. Do you understand?" I shuddered, recalling the notebook, tracking my ovulation and the voodoo dolls in the cookie tin. Harper's warning aligned terrifyingly well with what I had found. They wanted to ensure I couldn't have a child. Or if I did, the fate of both me and the baby would be in their hands. So what do I do now? Just sit still and wait to die? I asked, my voice trembling. Harper smiled, the sharp smile of someone well-versed in legal warfare. "Who said anything about sitting still? We play their game. You must pretend you know absolutely nothing. Keep playing the gentle, devoted wife. But behind the scenes, you must secretly transfer your assets. I will guide you on how to legally siphon off assets and put them in your parents' names or a trusted third party's. Simultaneously, you need more proof of Hunter transferring marital funds to Daisy. We need to prove dissipation of marital assets for illicit purposes." Harper pulled out a notepad, scribbled a few bullet points, and pushed it toward me. "Most importantly, you need to grab them by their fatal weakness. Everyone is greedy, And the greed of Hunter and his mother is bottomless. Use their own greed to set a trap. I looked at the words Harper wrote, my eyes gradually turning resolute. From a weak victim, I felt I was slowly regaining control. She was right. I couldn't let emotions dictate my actions anymore. I had to be more alert, colder, and more ruthless than them. Thank you, Harper, I said, my voice firm. I understand. I won't let them win. The game is only just beginning. Stepping out of the cafe, the midday sun beat down on the steaming asphalt. I put on my sunglasses, hiding my swollen eyes that now harbored an iron resolve. I was going to go home. I was going to cook and do the dishes, and I was going to continue being the perfect, submissive wife. Early the next morning, when the faint sunlight just peeked through the blinds, I was already awake. Hunter was still sleeping soundly beside me, snoring carelessly, a stark contrast to my turbulent mindset all night. I tiptoed out of bed, went into the bathroom, and locked the door. In my hand was a fake positive pregnancy test I had ordered online via overnight delivery yesterday. I stood in front of the mirror, looking at my gaunt face, taking a deep breath to gather my spirit for the upcoming act. I knew that from this moment on, I wasn't just Chloe, the enduring wife and daughter-in-law. I had to become the best actress of my own life. I turned the faucet on full blast and started making loud, dry heaving sounds like someone suffering from severe morning sickness. The retching echoed in the quiet morning space, loud enough to wake the people sleeping in the adjacent rooms. Less than a minute later, heavy footsteps rushed to the bathroom door. Hunter banged on it urgently, his voice groggy but full of worry. Chloe, what's wrong? Open the door, let me see. I splashed water on my face to make it look like I was sweating from exhaustion, then slowly unlocked the door. I leaned against the frame, one hand on my chest, the other extending the preg's test with two bright red lines. I looked at Hunter, tears in my eyes, my voice choked up. Honey, I'm pregnant. Hunter froze, his eyes widening as he stared blankly at the test in my hand. For a split second, I saw confusion and panic flash across his face. But very quickly, the instinct of a greedy, fake man took over. He grabbed the test, inspected it under the light, and screamed in apparent joy, Really? 2 lines? Oh my God, Mom. My wife is pregnant. Hunter's scream acted like a massive stimulant, causing Martha's bedroom door to fly open instantly. My half-paralyzed mother-in-law, who yesterday groaned about not being able to lift her leg, now dashed out of her room so fast she forgot to grab her trusty cane. She ran over to us, her eyes glowing like headlights. Where? Is it true? Let me see. Martha snatched the test from Hunter's hand, held it up to her eyes, and let out a boisterous laugh, the exact laugh I heard on the hidden camera. Praise the Lord. Finally, this family is blessed. 2 bright red lines, no denying that. She turned to me, her attitude doing a 180-degree flip from her usual sharp, scrutinizing glare. Now, she looked at me like I was a treasure, a machine that printed gold. She hurriedly supported my arm, her rough hands gripping mine, acting so caring it gave me goosebumps. My good daughter-in-law, walk slowly. Go lie down in bed. Oh, you poor thing, morning sickness is so tiring. Let me go make some nutritious salmon chowder for you to feed my grandson. I let them guide me to the bed, suppressing a wave of utter nausea. Honestly, watching Martha walk briskly, her back straight, without a hint of her crippling pain, I wondered how they could be such great actors, and how I had been so blind. Her illness was just an excuse to torture me. And now, this fake pregnancy was the excuse that revealed her true form as a greedy opportunist. Hunter sat on the edge of the bed, holding my hand and rubbing it. How are you feeling? Do you want to eat anything? I'll go buy it. From now on, you don't have to lift a finger. Mom and I will take care of everything. Just focus on resting for the baby. I looked into my husband's eyes, trying to find a shred of remaining sincerity, but I only saw cold calculation hidden behind that fake smile. He wasn't thrilled because he was going to be a father again. He was thrilled because his plan was on track, or perhaps he was already formulating a new, darker plot. I'm just a little tired, honey, I replied weakly, forcing a frail smile. But I'm worried. Work is so busy, and Mom is so weak. "What are you worrying for?" Martha yelled from the kitchen, the sound of chopping echoing loudly. "Take some time off from that corporate job. You've got me for the house stuff. I'm healthy now. Seeing my grandson has cured me. Just rest easy and pop out an air for me." I closed my eyes, pretending to sleep to hide the coldness in my gaze. Dinner that night was surprisingly lavish. Gone were the usual boiled veggies and sloppy tofu, replaced by prime steak, roasted chicken, and rich soups. Martha kept piling food into my bowl, her mouth running nonstop with sweet talk about how I had to eat for two, how I needed to nourish her smart, healthy grandson. Hunter sat beside me, peeling fruit and pouring orange juice right into my hands. If it were the Chloe of a week ago, I would have been moved to tears, thinking my devotion had finally been recognized. But now, looking at the feast before me, I felt like I was sitting at a banquet of hypocrites. I took a few bites, then pretended to put my fork down, sighing heavily with a thoughtful expression. Hunter immediately asked, "What's wrong? Doesn't taste good? Are you still nauseous?" I shook my head, hesitated for a moment, and spoke softly, but loud enough for both of them to hear every word. "No, honey. I was just thinking about my parents. Mom called yesterday and said they just sold our family's old plot of land out in the suburbs. They got a great price for it." Hearing the words times sold land times and times great price asterisk, Martha's eyes lit up like high beams. Her fork paused in midair. Hunter quickly pressed, "Really? How much did they get? What are they going to do with the money?" I looked down at my bowl, hiding a smirk. "Over $2.5 million, honey. They said they feel bad that their only daughter is living in a cramped downtown condo, so they plan to buy me a luxury townhouse in the city, so we have space to live and maybe start a business. They've already looked at a gorgeous property, around $2.5 million. They plan to put the deed directly in my name." The dining room fell dead silent. The only sound was someone gulping loudly. I glanced up and saw Martha and Hunter exchanging loaded looks. The greed and calculation were written plainly across their faces. A $2.5 million luxury townhouse in the city that was their lifelong dream, a number Hunter could never reach in a lifetime of working. I delivered the final blow. But my dad said I'm their only daughter. Now that I'm pregnant and my health is weak, they made a condition. I must give birth safely to a healthy grandchild. Only then will they sign the deed over to me and the baby. If anything goes wrong, they'll donate all the money to charity." Martha slapped her thigh and laughed happily. "Oh, please, your folks worry too much. You have me here taking care of you. It will absolutely be a safe birth. 2.5 million, no. That house is the blessing of you and my grandson. It's not going anywhere." Hunter grabbed my hand, his voice shaking with excitement. "She's right, honey. Your parents love us so much. We have to work hard. Just focus on your pregnancy. If anything is difficult, tell me. Our family's life is about to change." I nodded and smiled faintly, mocking them in my head. The trap of greed had been set, and the prey had bitten the hook obediently. With the prospect of a $2.5 million house dangling in front of them, they definitely wouldn't dare do anything to harm this pregnancy, at least not until I gave birth. This would be my temporary get-out-of-jail-free card, giving me time to gather more evidence and move my own assets. That night, around 9 p.m., Martha brought a bowl of steaming, dark herbal soup into my room. The strong, pungent smell filled the air. She fawned, "Chloe, drink up. I simmered this for hours. It's all premium herbs I had a friend send over from out of state, highly beneficial for the baby. Drink it while it's hot, so it absorbs." Looking at the black liquid with floating roots and berries, my intuition screamed that something was wrong. Why was she so overly enthusiastic? Herbs sent from out of state? Where did she get the money and connections to get that so fast, considering she had only been in the city for a few weeks? I remembered the fingernails and the voodoo doll in the cookie tin, the venomous look in her eyes. "Yes, thank you, Mom. Just leave it there to cool down a bit. I'll drink it. I'm feeling really bloated right now." I tried to sound natural. Martha hesitated, her eyes darting around to observe me, then reluctantly nodded. "All right. Make sure you finish it. Don't pour it out. It's expensive stuff." She turned to leave, but glanced back at the bowl one more time before closing the door. Waiting until her footsteps faded away, I immediately locked my door. I grabbed a thick Ziploc bag, poured the entire bowl of soup into it, sealed it tight, and buried it deep in the trash can, covering it with tissues. I didn't know what was in that soup, medicine or poison, but I was certain of one thing: I would never let anything from their hands enter my body again. Tonight I would sleep with an empty stomach, but at least I knew I was safe. The next morning, while Hunter was at work and Martha was engrossed in a daytime soap opera in the living room, I sneaked the soup sample into a small vial, planning to take it to get tested or have my pharmacist friend check it out. But before I could leave the house, my eyes caught a bottle of prenatal vitamins sitting on my vanity. This was the bottle Hunter bought for me yesterday. He claimed they were imported from Europe, the best on the market, costing over $100 a bottle. I picked it up and inspected it. The packaging looked premium, seals intact, high-quality printing. But when I opened the cap, a strange, pungent odor hit my nose, completely different from the mild scent of normal vitamins. I poured a few pills into my palm. They were pale yellow, the surface slightly rough, lacking the smooth, consistent coating of standard pharmaceuticals. Notably, there was no manufacturer logo or imprint stamped on the pills. Suspicion rising, I quickly went online and searched for images of this brand. On the official website, the pills were dark brown, elongated ovals with a clear logo engraved. The pills in my hand looked like cheap, homemade compressed powder. Looking closely, they were even shedding dust. My limbs went weak. Hunter had swapped the pills. He bought a real bottle but filled it with unregulated, unknown capsules. Why would he do that? To save a few bucks to feed his mistress? Or did these pills harbor a darker scheme to harm me? I remembered Harper's warning. Asterisk. They might find a way to harm the baby or your health. Asterisk. I wrapped a few pills in a tissue and put them in my purse. I decided to take both the soup and the pills to Lily, my pharmacist friend. On the way there, my heart burned like fire. The feeling of being slowly poisoned by the man I shared a bed with made me shudder in sheer terror. At Lily's pharmacy, after examining the pills under a magnifying glass and doing some rapid chemical tests, Lily frowned, her face deadly serious. "Chloe, these aren't prenatal vitamins. Based on the physical properties and how they dissolve, I suspect this is a compressed underground herbal concoction. It contains heavy doses of safflower and motherwort. These are powerful blood-thinning and uterine-stimulating agents. Pregnant women are strictly forbidden from taking these because they induce severe miscarriages and hemorrhaging." "Miscarriage?" I stammered, all color draining from my face. "Yes, if you were really pregnant and took these, the chance of losing the baby is astronomically high." "Where the hell did your husband buy this?" Lily asked sharply. I slumped into the chair, my whole body trembling. It turned out they never wanted me to have this child. They acted overjoyed to my face, promising me the moon and stars for the $2.5 million house. But behind my back, they were secretly dosing me with abortifacients. They wanted me to have a natural miscarriage so they wouldn't look like the bad guys, and they could blame it on my weak constitution. From there, they could legally inherit the house, or force me into a divorce with nothing because I was barren. Asterisk. Oh, Hunter, how could you be this evil? Asterisk. He was ready to kill his own flesh and blood if it were real, just out of greed and despicable selfishness. I clenched my fists, my nails biting into my skin in pain. Thank God this pregnancy was fake. Thank God I was vigilant. Otherwise, I would have become a mother mourning her lost child, lying in a pool of blood, still foolishly grateful to the monsters who murdered it. "Lily, help me send this to a lab for a full toxicology report. And this soup sample too." "I need concrete proof," I said, my voice hardening, eyes burning with fury. "Okay, I'll send it to the lab right now. But you need to be careful. Living with these demons is too dangerous," Lily said, squeezing my hand in worry. I nodded and walked out of the pharmacy. The sun was blazing, but I didn't feel the heat. Inside me, there was only one goal left. I had to strip away the human skin of these demons and make them pay for every single poisoned pill and toxic bowl of soup they prepared for me. That night, I lay perfectly still in bed, listening to Hunter's steady breathing, waiting until I was certain he was dead asleep, exhausted from celebrating the good news earlier. I gently took his hand and pressed his thumb against the fingerprint sensor of his phone on the nightstand. The screen unlocked. I quickly accessed his banking apps, muting the notification sounds to avoid any noise. I didn't check the transfer history because I already had enough proof of that. This time, I looked at the notifications for his linked digital wallets and food delivery apps. Hunter frequently used these to order lunch or buy small items. I scrolled through a series of orders: $15 oatmeal, $30 chicken soup. Those were the items sent to my house to keep up the charade of nourishing me. But interspersed among them were much more expensive orders sent to a different address: $100 imported maternity milk, $300 bird's nest extract, $200 designer maternity dresses, all delivered to apartment 1206, the Blue Star Tower, Bellevue. The Blue Star was a brand new luxury high-rise. Rent there wasn't a penny under $4,000 a month. Where did Hunter get the money to rent and support a mistress in such luxury? Definitely from siphoning my money. From the secret stash he had been skimming off me for years, and from the forged $100,000 loan he was quietly pinning on my head. I memorized the address and gently put the phone back. The next morning, I took the morning off work, claiming I had a routine prenatal checkup. Naturally, I went alone to maintain the surprise for my husband. I took an Uber straight to the Blue Star Tower. Standing in front of the skyscraper, its glass facade gleaming in the sunlight, I felt incredibly small and ridiculous. Me, the legal wife, dressed simply, driving an old car, if not taking Ubers, living in an average condo, paying the mortgage every month, while my husband's mistress, the home wrecker, was living like a queen in this ivory tower, enjoying things bought with my blood and tears. I sat in a coffee shop across from the lobby, my eyes glued to the entrance. Around 10 a.m., a black SUV pulled up to the lobby. The door opened, and Hunter stepped out, his hands full of shopping bags. He smiled happily, jogged around to the other side, and opened the door for a woman. Daisy stepped out, her pregnant belly huge, wearing the exact designer maternity dress I had seen on the delivery app last night. She clung to Hunter's arm, acting cute, and Hunter tenderly supported her every step, his eyes overflowing with love and pampering. He bent down, kissed her forehead, then rubbed her belly, saying something that made Daisy giggle. That image was like a pot of boiling water thrown in my face. That was the husband who, just last night, swore to take care of me and ensure a safe delivery. The man who was secretly swapping my pills for poison. The contrast between the two images: one, the model husband loving his mistress endlessly; the other, a cruel schemer plotting to harm his wife and unborn child, made me shudder with disgust. I pulled out my phone, snapped dozens of photos in burst mode, and recorded a video of them walking intimately into the lobby. My hands were shaking, not from fear, but from rage. Rage at myself for trusting, for sacrificing so stupidly. Rage at how unfair life was to people who lived genuinely. Returning from the luxury Blue Star building, my footsteps felt as heavy as lead. The image of Hunter, tenderly helping Daisy out of the car, the loving look he gave her, kept haunting my mind, as sharp and painful as a knife to the heart. I thought I was strong, but faced with the naked truth of betrayal wrapped in such glamorous packaging, my heart still shattered. I stopped by a small park near my house, sitting blankly on a bench for an hour to let the wind dry my bitter tears, and to fix my clothes and makeup before re-entering the tiger's den. As soon as I got home, the suffocating atmosphere enveloped me. Martha was watching TV. Seeing me, she turned it off and looked at me with a probing, hypocritical gaze. Hunter came out of the bedroom, holding a steaming mug of hot pregnancy milk. He fawned, "Wife, you're back. Where were you so long? Mom and I were worried sick. Drink this milk to get your energy back." I took the mug, sneering inwardly. Surely, this was another act in the nourishment play. Or maybe there were a few more untraceable pills mixed in. I pretended to take a sip, then put it down on the table, sighing. I went to meet a client. "I'm so exhausted, honey." This project is on a tight deadline, so I'm running around constantly. Hunter sat next to me, took my hand, and rubbed it, his voice dropping into deep concern. See? I knew it. If you keep being a workaholic, how will the baby be healthy? Mom and I just talked it over. Why don't you just quit your job? Stay home and rest so you're safe. You running around like this gives me anxiety. Martha chimed in from across the room with a condescending tone. He's right. For a woman, the most important thing is a husband and children, a warm home. Making money is a man's job. Why are you out there struggling in society for nothing? Hunter makes decent money now, more than enough for the family. Quit your job, stay home, and I'll serve you hand and foot so my grandson is healthy. I looked at the two of them, disgust rising to my throat. They wanted me to quit my job not out of concern for my health or this fake baby, but to cut off all my social connections, eliminate my income, and destroy my independence. They wanted to turn me into a housewife confined to the kitchen, completely dependent on them so they could easily control me. Once I had no money and no voice, they could easily kick me to the curb empty-handed at any moment. I pulled my hand out of Hunter's, leaned back against the chair, and let out a dramatic, sorrowful sigh. I really want to quit. Who wouldn't want to stay home and be pampered? But I let the sentence trail off, observing their reactions out of the corner of my eye. But what? Hunter asked anxiously. You know, my parents promised me that $2.5 million house, but the condition is a healthy birth and I need to have matching funds to renovate the house to their exact specifications. My dad said a woman who doesn't make her own money has no voice. They are afraid if I stay home and freeload, my in-laws will look down on me. Plus, if I finish this current project successfully, I'll get an end-of-year bonus of $100,000. Combined with my salary for the next few months, I plan to use it to renovate that $2.5 million house so it's grand and worthy of our son. Hearing the $100,000 bonus and the reminder of the $2.5 million house, Martha's eyes lit up like high beams. She swallowed hard, her previous haughtiness completely vanishing, replaced by pragmatic calculation. Hunter also froze, pure greed displayed openly on his face as he tried to maintain a calm exterior. 10,000,000, Martha repeated, her voice trembling. Yes, that's the minimum, Mom. If I quit suddenly right now, not only do I lose that bonus, but I could get hit with a contract penalty. Then my parents will think I'm lazy. And what if they change their minds about the house? I dragged out the words, looking deeply worried. Hunter hurriedly waved his hands. No, if that's the case, keep working, but just take it easy, okay? Don't overwork yourself. Money is important, but the baby is number one. Just push through this project, get the bonus, and then quitting won't be too late. I nodded and smiled faintly, mocking them inside. Money really can buy anything. By appealing to their bottomless greed, all their fake logic, love, and care became meaningless. I stood up and walked into the bedroom, leaving the mother and son whispering to each other, undoubtedly counting their chickens before they hatched, planning how to spend my phantom bonus. That night, Hunter went to take a shower and left his iPad on his desk. He was usually careful with his phone, keeping it glued to him, but he used the iPad mostly for reading news and watching movies, so he was somewhat careless with it. However, he didn't know that I had secretly synced his text messages from his phone to this iPad a few days ago while he was passed out drunk. I quickly scrolled through the apps and stopped at messages. A string of unread texts from a contact named Baby glowed red. I clicked on it, my heart pounding. It was Daisy. It seemed she was losing patience. Asterisk. How much longer are you going to lie to me? You said your old hag of a wife was going to quit her job and you guys were getting divorced, so why is she still prancing around? Today, I saw her check in at a restaurant with a client, laughing and looking perfectly fine. Are you going to handle this quickly or not? My belly is huge, our baby is about to be born, and if he doesn't have a father, don't blame me for being vicious. Asterisk, next was a voice memo. I turned the volume all the way down and held it to my ear. Daisy's shrill, bitter voice came through. Asterisk, I am giving you one more week. If you don't kick her out of that house, I will march my pregnant belly right into her office and make a scene so everyone can see if she can keep her director mask on. And I'll come for your manager position too. Don't think I'm a pushover. Asterisk, I put the iPad down and smirked. It turned out their little love nest wasn't as peaceful as it seemed. Daisy was scared, jealous, and insecure. She was afraid I wouldn't let go, afraid Hunter would backtrack. And most importantly, she knew absolutely nothing about the $2.5 million inheritance trap Hunter was currently lured into. Hunter was caught in the crossfire. On one side, his greed to steal my assets. On the other, the pressure from his mistress. I knew I couldn't just sit still and wait for her to cause a scene at my office. Even though I wasn't afraid of losing face, I needed time to complete my asset transfers and gather more evidence. I needed to make Daisy even more chaotic, making her turn her attacks on Hunter instead of me. I took out an old burner phone from my secret drawer, inserted a prepaid SIM card I had ready. I drafted a text, acting like an acquaintance in the know, and sent it directly to Daisy's number. Asterisk, hi Daisy, I'm an acquaintance of Hunter's. Seeing you pregnant and struggling, I feel bad, so I'm letting you know. Hunter has no intention of divorcing. His wife just inherited a $2.5 million house. He is sucking up to her to get his name on the deed. You are just a fling to him. Wake up, girl. Before your baby is born fatherless, and you get labeled a homewrecker while ending up empty-handed. Asterisk. After sending it, I turned the phone off, removed the SIM card, snapped it in half, and flushed it down the toilet. I imagined Daisy going ballistic in her luxury apartment reading this. Suspicion is a poison that kills any relationship, especially illicit ones built on lies. Just 10 minutes later, I heard Hunter's phone ringing loudly in the bathroom. He didn't answer. The ringing stopped, then started again, frantic and crazy. Hunter shut off the shower and rushed out, not even dried off, grabbing his phone. He looked at the screen, his face draining of color, then glanced quickly toward the bed where I was lying with my back to him, faking sleep. He tiptoed out to the balcony, sliding the soundproof glass door shut. Through the glass, I could still see his restless posture, his hands waving wildly as he explained himself. Daisy was definitely making a scene, interrogating him about the $2.5 million house. Hunter was going to have a hard time soothing her, and in his panic, he was bound to make mistakes. Sunday morning, the atmosphere in the house was strangely tense. Hunter woke up very early, fully dressed, but his dark under-eye circles betrayed a sleepless night. The aftermath of his argument with Daisy still lingered. He sat drinking coffee, occasionally glancing at me with a probing look. Martha was buzzing around preparing breakfast, muttering about going to church to pray for her grandson. Right after breakfast, Hunter put his coffee cup down, cleared his throat, and said, "Chloe, I'm free today. Let me take you to your prenatal checkup. You've been complaining about being tired, I'm worried. I have an appointment with a buddy of mine. He's the head of OBGYN at X private clinic, top-tier guy. He'll give you a thorough check. Maybe even tell us if it's a boy or girl so we can tell your parents and make them happy." I jolted, the piece of toast I was chewing getting stuck in my throat. A prenatal checkup. And with his friend, doctor. If I went there, my fake pregnancy would be exposed immediately. X private clinic was famous for being modern with top-of-the-line equipment. I couldn't fool them. This was definitely a trap Hunter set. He wanted to verify the pregnancy, or worse, he and that doctor would conspire to do something to me. "Oh, honey, I just went last week. The doctor said everything is normal. Traveling around is so tiring. I just want to stay home and rest," I tried to evade. "No." Hunter shot it down, his voice unusually rigid. "I don't trust strangers. This guy is a close friend. I already pulled strings to get us in. Just go change your clothes. I'll bring the car around." "Mom's going too," Martha chimed in immediately. "That's right. Go to the doctor. I'm coming to see what my grandson looks like. We're driving. You're not walking. What are you afraid of?" They backed me into a corner. I knew I couldn't keep refusing. The more I refused, the more suspicious they would get. I reluctantly nodded. Walking into the bedroom to change, my brain went into overdrive, looking for an escape. I secretly slipped a small bottle of dark red liquid into my purse. Fake blood. I had gotten it from a friend who worked in theater makeup, just in case. The car rolled out. The air inside was suffocatingly tight. Hunter drove, his face grim. Martha sat in the back, blabbering nonstop about baby names. I sat in the passenger seat, clutching my stomach, sweating profusely even though the AC was on blast. Halfway there, on the busiest street in the city, I started to act. I grimaced and groaned. "Ah, it hurts, honey. My stomach hurts so much." Hunter startled and looked over. "What? Where does it hurt?" "It hurts. It hurts so bad. Like something is tearing inside me." I doubled over, clutching my lower abdomen, panting. "Honey, I think I'm bleeding." I discreetly squeezed the small pouch in my pocket, letting the red liquid soak through my light-colored dress onto the car seat. Martha lunged forward from the back seat, saw the spreading red stain, and shrieked, "Oh my God! Blood! Blood! My grandson!" Hunter's face turned ash-white. The steering wheel swerved, almost hitting the median. "Chloe, stay calm. I'm taking you to my buddy right now." "No, we won't make it. It's too far," I screamed, tears streaming down my face. "It hurts to death. Go to the nearest ER." "Save our baby, honey, save him." At this moment, the primal fear of losing his golden goose and the $2.5 million house overrode his calculations. Martha also screamed, "Hunter, pull into that hospital right there. Hurry up. If anything happens to my grandson, I'll die." Hunter had no choice. He yanked the steering wheel, pulling into the entrance of a general hospital right on the avenue, just a few hundred yards away. His plan to take me to his buddy's clinic was ruined by a hair. I collapsed back against the seat, exhaling, silently thanking my acting skills. But the next hurdle was the most critical: how to fool the ER doctors. The car stopped at the ER bay. Hunter scooped me up and ran inside. Martha waddled behind, wailing like the house was on fire. Nurses rushed out with a gurney and wheeled me into an examination room. Hunter tried to push his way in but was stopped by security. Family members must wait outside. The ER doors closed, separating me from the chaotic noise outside. I lay on the bed, quickly wiping the sweat off my forehead. The attending doctor, a middle-aged man with glasses, looked at me with a professional gaze. "Where does it hurt? Are you bleeding a lot?" I knew I couldn't fake pain to a trained medical professional. I sat up, looked him straight in the eye, lowered my voice, and spoke rapidly and pleadingly. "Doctor, please save me. I am perfectly fine. That blood is fake." The doctor froze, his brow furrowing in confusion. "Excuse me? Are you playing a prank in a hospital?" "No. I'm not joking." I grabbed his scrubs, tears welling up this time, real tears of humiliation and fear. My husband and his family are plotting against me. They forced me to go to a doctor they know to do something shady. I was cornered, so I had to do this to get in here. "Please, doctor, please help me. I need a medical record diagnosing a threatened miscarriage and strict bed rest." The doctor stared at me, his eyes shifting from suspicion to surprise, then to sympathy. He noticed faint bruises on my arms from bumping into things, doing chores, and looked at my gaunt, anxious face. Perhaps in his years of practice, he had seen enough domestic tragedies. "I cannot get involved in your family disputes," he said, his voice strict but less harsh. "But I am a doctor. I diagnose based on facts. If you aren't pregnant, I cannot write threatened miscarriage. That violates medical ethics." Desperate, my shaking hands pulled a crumpled ultrasound printout from my bra. Here, it was a forged document my pharmacist friend Lily had prepared for me, just in case. It had my name, showing a 6-week pregnancy, with a weak heartbeat and 10% placental abruption. Then, "Doctor, can you just give me some advice? I will tell them that you examined me, and the results matched this paper. Please don't expose me right now. If they know I'm not pregnant, they will kill me." The doctor held the fake ultrasound, sighing heavily. He looked toward the door, where Hunter was pacing like a caged beast, then looked back at the trembling woman in front of him. Finally, he gave a slight nod, handing the paper back to me. "I will note in your file your actual condition based on my assessment, but I will not say anything to your family. You will have to explain it to them yourself." I will only prescribe some basic vitamins and mild sedatives. Thank you, doctor. Thank you so much. I bowed my head, my heart feeling a million times lighter. 15 minutes later, I walked out of the ER, my gait unsteady, clutching my stomach, face pale. Hunter and Martha rushed over. How is it? What did the doctor say? Is the baby okay? I handed Hunter the fake ultrasound I had ready, my voice breathless and broken. The doctor said the pregnancy is very weak. 10% abruption, threatened miscarriage. He yelled at me for moving around too much, stressing too much. Now I have to be on absolute bed rest. No going anywhere. No heavy lifting. Otherwise, I burst into violent sobs. Hunter held the paper, his hands shaking. He didn't understand the medical jargon, but he saw the words threatened miscarriage and poor prognosis. His face turned gray. His dream of a $2.5 million house was violently shaking. Martha beat her chest. Oh my God, my grandson. It's all your fault for not taking care of yourself. I told you to stay home, but you insisted on working. Stop it, Mom, Hunter snapped, sweat beading on his forehead. He was terrified my stress would kill the baby. Let's go home right now. From now on, you stay perfectly still in bed. I will bring food and water to you. If we lose this baby, don't blame me for being cruel. I nodded, leaning against Hunter so he could support me to the car. In the arms of my betrayer, I felt disgusted, but also deeply satisfied. During my days of bed rest, I was like a prisoner under house arrest in my own home, but I was a prisoner with eyes and ears everywhere. Through the synced iPad, I knew Daisy was going crazy over Hunter's delays. She constantly bombarded him with her ultrasound photos, expensive baby registry receipts, and threats to march into his office. Hunter was like an animal backed into a corner, having to play the model husband to me to keep the $2.5 million gold mine secure while trying to pacify his furious mistress. One afternoon, Hunter came home from work earlier than usual, his face visibly gaunt, dark circles deep under his eyes from lack of sleep. He brought home a bouquet of red roses, the kind he used to buy when we first started dating. But now, looking at them, I only saw a glaring, fake, bloody red. He put the flowers in a vase, sat on the edge of the bed, and held my hand. His voice tried to sound enthusiastic, but couldn't hide the tremor of a man hiding a scheme. Wifey, I heard some great news today. I wanted to run it by you. I faked exhaustion, half opening my eyes, my voice weak. What news, honey? I have a headache. I just want to sleep. Hunter quickly massaged my temples, his tone sweet. It's important. It's about our baby's future. Mom just told me my uncle back in Idaho needs to sell his commercial lot urgently to pay off his son's debts. It's a prime piece of land, selling for half the market value. Mom said if we buy it now, we can flip it in a few months and triple our money. It's an opportunity of a lifetime, Chloe, I sneered internally. Asterisk prime piece of land. Asterisk nonsense. Daisy was demanding a down payment for a house, demanding a title, and he was so desperate he made up an investment story to bleed money out of me. I sighed, pulling my hand back, sounding sad. Real estate? I'd love to. But where is the money, honey? All our savings are locked in a 1-year CD for the high interest. If we pull it out now, we lose all the interest. It's a waste. Hearing Times lose interest asterisk, Hunter's face twitched, but he kept pushing. What's bank interest compared to real estate margins? We have a couple $100,000 in there, plus your jewelry, that's enough for a down payment. Or, could you borrow some from your parents? Tell them we need it for a business venture. They love their grandchild. They'll definitely lend it. I looked deep into my husband's eyes, seeing the raw greed and depravity dancing in them. He didn't just want to strip me of my assets. He wanted to suck my parents dry too. I shook my head adamantly, tears welling up. No, honey. My parents are very strict. They hate lending money. Besides, I'm pregnant and weak. If I ask for money, they'll stress out about it affecting my health. Why don't you ask Mom? Mentioning Martha, Hunter went dead silent. He knew full well his mother was a bottomless pit, only taking in and never giving out a dime. He sat there frozen, utter disappointment on his face, running his hands through his hair in frustration. I turned my face to the wall, pretending to sleep to hide a cold smile. The next morning, taking advantage of Hunter being at work and Martha gossiping with neighbors down in the courtyard, I snuck out of bed to stretch my legs. Days of faking bed rest had made my body ache, but my mental vigilance was tight as a bowstring. I went into Hunter's home office, looking to see if he had hidden any documents regarding that ghost plot of land. The room was a mess, papers everywhere, an overflowing ashtray. I searched his desk drawer, where he kept important things. It was locked. But having lived with him for 3 years, finding the spare key hidden under the cactus pot on the windowsill wasn't difficult. Asterisk, click. Asterisk. The drawer opened. There was no deed or real estate document inside. Instead, there was a thick, dark blue envelope from a major life insurance company, stamped urgent. I picked it up, my intuition screaming this wasn't a normal policy. I pulled out the file. Glaring at me was the bold header. Asterisk, asterisk, comprehensive life insurance policy, asterisk, asterisk. Asterisk insured, Chloe Nguyen. Asterisk, asterisk beneficiary, Hunter Tran, husband. Asterisk, asterisk coverage amount, $2,500,000. Asterisk. My hands shook violently. The paper nearly dropped to the floor. I flipped to the payout clauses. A line was underlined in bright red pen. Asterisk, asterisk, accidental death benefit, double indemnity, pays 200% of the coverage amount. Asterisk, asterisk, meaning, if I died in an accident, Hunter would receive $5 million. The effective date of the policy was 2 weeks ago, exactly when I started getting suspicious and installed the cameras. I slumped into the chair, my whole body turning as cold as if a bucket of ice water was dumped on me in the dead of winter. It turned out my value in my husband's eyes wasn't marital love, wasn't being the mother of his child, but a piece of paper worth $5 million. He had secretly taken out a policy on my life, making himself the sole beneficiary. What did this mean? It meant he was waiting for, or actively planning, an accident to happen to me. Tears streamed down my face uncontrollably. I cried for my own stupidity, for the absolute cruelty of the human heart. I thought they were just greedy, wanting my condo, wanting me to leave with nothing, but no. They wanted my life. They wanted me dead, so they could legally enjoy a life of luxury built on my grave. I hurriedly took out my phone, taking pictures of every page of the policy, especially the beneficiary and payout clauses. Then I shakily put it back into the envelope, placed it in the drawer, and locked it exactly as I found it. I had to stay incredibly calm. If I blew up now, they would destroy the evidence, and I would be in real, imminent danger. I went back to the bedroom, pulling the covers up tightly, but the chill from that demonic contract still seeped into my bones. I stared at the ceiling, my eyes dry and hollow. Asterisk Hunter, if you want to play a game of life and death, I will grant your wish, but the one going into the ground will definitely not be me. Asterisk. At noon, Martha came home with takeout soup. The smell of fried onions filled the air, but I had no appetite. I lay in my room, wearing a Bluetooth earpiece, connected to the hidden camera in the living room's fake plant. I knew Hunter usually called his mom around this time to discuss big plans. Sure enough, 15 minutes later, Martha's phone rang. She answered, her voice loud and indiscreet, probably thinking I was dead to the world in my room. "Hello, son? How is it? Is Daisy calming down?" Martha asked anxiously. Hunter's voice came through the speaker. Martha was hard of hearing and always used speakerphone, crystal clear in my earpiece. "She's going crazy, Mom. She said if I don't give her $100,000 for a house down payment by this weekend, she's going to expose everything. My head is pounding, and Chloe is guarding her money like a dragon. I can't trick it out of her. That bitch is too sharp," Martha hissed. "So what's your plan? Let Daisy make a scene. If Chloe finds out and divorces you, you lose everything, including that $2.5 million house." Hunter went silent for a moment. Then his voice dropped, turning so cold and ruthless I shuddered. "Don't worry, Mom. I have a plan B. Remember that life insurance policy I bought for her? The waiting period for the accident clause clears in 2 weeks. This weekend, I'm taking her on a trip. I'll tell her it's a healing retreat to rekindle our romance before the baby comes. I've got my eye on a resort in the Cascade Mountains. It's completely isolated, lots of steep cliffs, and there's usually heavy fog. You mean? Martha hesitated, but there was no fear in her voice, only a sick excitement. Just an accident, Mom, Hunter chuckled, a dry, hollow sound like a crow cawing. Pregnant women are clumsy. Slipping and falling off a cliff is totally normal. When it happens, I'll get the $5 million payout, and I can officially bring Daisy and the baby home. As for the townhouse, her parents promised. As her sole heir, they won't be able to do a thing about it. Is it safe? What if the police investigate? Martha asked nervously. You worry too much. I'll make it clean, no witnesses. Plus, we have medical records showing she suffers from severe dizziness and low blood pressure from when I previously faked symptoms. Who would suspect anything? Just keep taking good care of her so she trusts us completely. That way, she won't have her guard up on the trip. I yanked the earpiece out and threw it on the bed, my whole body trembling. Not from cold, but from absolute, sheer fury. Asterisk, Plan B. A cliff. An accident. Asterisk. Those words danced in my head, painting a bloody scenario they had custom-made for me. They didn't see me as a human being. They saw me as a sacrificial lamb for their greed. I looked out the window. The sky was gray, brewing a storm. I knew I had no way back. If I didn't strike first, I would die. And my death would become the stepping stone to wealth for these murderers. I clenched my fists, my nails digging into my palms until they bled. Asterisk. All right. A trip. I will go. But this trip will be a one-way ticket for you, Hunter. Asterisk. After hearing Hunter's vicious Plan B, I knew I needed ironclad evidence. Something proving his intent to commit murder before it actually happened. The recording of him and his mother was valuable, but could be dismissed in court as a bad joke or conjecture. I needed something direct, out of his own mouth, to a third party. That evening, Hunter came home looking much more cheerful, probably because he thought his perfect plan was in motion. He went to the kitchen and cooked, whistling a tune. I lay in my room, pulled out a burner phone and a prepaid SIM. I downloaded a voice changer app onto an old smartphone. Using two devices, I modulated my voice to sound like a professional female customer service rep, sweet but slightly robotic. Waiting until Hunter was on the balcony smoking a post-dinner cigarette, I dialed his number. Through the crack in the window, I saw him check the caller ID, hesitate, and answer. Hello? Who is this? He asked gruffly. I took a breath and got into character. Good evening, Mr. Tran. I am calling from the customer care department of X Insurance. I am calling to verify some details regarding the comprehensive life insurance policy you recently purchased for Miss Chloe Nguyen. Hearing insurance, his attitude shifted immediately, becoming guarded but highly interested. By listening. Yes, I'm listening. Is there a problem? No major issues, sir. It's just that our system flagged that you showed special interest in the accidental death coverage while traveling. I just want to confirm that you understand that in the event the insured suffers a fatal accident in a remote tourist area, mountainous region, or body of water, the claims process will require an official incident report from local law enforcement. Are you clear on this policy, sir? Hunter went quiet for a few seconds. When he spoke, his voice was urgent, his greed fully exposed. I understand. But let me ask you, if an accident unfortunately happens in an isolated area with no security cameras and only a family member as a witness, will it still pay out? And how long does the payout process take? His question was exactly what I was waiting for. It clearly indicted his intent to stage a perfect accident in an isolated place. I kept my voice calm and professional. Yes, sir. In that scenario, the witness statements and the coroner's report will be the primary evidence. If the file is complete, our company will pay out the 200% benefit within 15 business days. You can rest assured, sir. That's great, Hunter blurted out, unable to hide his excitement. Thank you. I will. I understand. Thank you. He hung up. I watched through the window as he took a long drag of his cigarette, tilted his head back, and exhaled the smoke, a deeply satisfied smirk on his face. He had no idea that our entire conversation had just been recorded in crystal-clear audio. His questions about isolated areas and payout times would be his death warrant in a court of law. I saved the audio file to a secure folder named Evidence 1. My heart was still racing from the tension, but mixed in was the triumphant thrill of a hunter who just lured a beast into the trap. Dinner that night saw Hunter acting unusually attentive. He voluntarily cleared the table and brewed some expensive chamomile tea. The soothing scent filled the small living room. He sat down next to me, gently pulled my legs onto his lap, and started massaging them. Every movement was slow and practiced, like the most perfect husband in the world. If this were the past, I might have been moved to tears. But now, every time his hand touched my skin, I felt like a cold snake was slithering over me, forcing me to tense up to keep from recoiling in disgust. Hunter spoke in a deep, warm voice while massaging my legs, the voice that once made me trust him with my entire life. "Wifey, I see you're so stressed lately, balancing work and the pregnancy. It breaks my heart. Let's take a weekend trip, just the two of us, to clear your mind. I found this gorgeous resort up in the Cascades, Cloud Peak. The air is crisp. It's totally quiet, perfect for you to rest." I feigned surprise and looked at him. "The Cascades? But the drive is so long, and with my threatened miscarriage, is it safe to travel?" "Don't worry, I'll drive very carefully. We'll take it slow." "Enjoy the scenery," Hunter reassured me quickly, his eyes glinting with calculating persuasion. "The doctor said a mother's mental state is the most important thing. If you stay cooped up in these four walls forever, it's not good for the baby. We'll go on a healing retreat, rekindle our romance, and prepare to welcome our baby in total happiness. What do you say?" Hearing the words healing retreat come from the mouth of a man plotting to murder his wife for insurance money, I felt an overwhelming sense of dark, bitter irony. Did he want to take me to heal, or take me to the afterlife so he could be debt-free? I looked deep into his eyes. I didn't see love. I saw stacks of insurance money and visions of a wealthy life with his mistress. I smiled a weak smile, but one containing a deadly agreement. "Okay, if you've thought this through for me and the baby, I'll listen to you. We'll take a trip as a baby moon. I want some private time with you in a truly isolated, peaceful place." Hunter was visibly thrilled. He squeezed my foot. "Exactly. It has to be isolated to be romantic. Just pack some nice clothes. I'll take care of the rest. This trip will definitely be the most unforgettable memory of your life." I nodded, turning my face away to hide a tear rolling down my cheek. The next morning, I used the excuse of buying some personal items for the trip to leave the house. The first thing I did wasn't to go to the mall, but to see Harper at her law office. I handed her a USB containing all the evidence I had collected: the call with the insurance agent, the mistress's ultrasounds, and the recording of Hunter and Martha's Plan B. Harper held the USB, her face grave, and briefed me on every single step I needed to take. She strongly emphasized that preserving my own life was the absolute priority. Leaving the law office, I stopped at a private investigator supply store. I bought a micro audio recorder, one that could be discreetly pinned to the inside of my bra, with a long battery life and noise cancellation. I also bought a GPS tracker the size of a coin, which I sewed tightly into the lining of the sneakers I planned to wear. I had to ensure that no matter what dark corner he dragged me to, Harper and the private security team I had hired could find me instantly. Returning home, I locked my bedroom door and executed the most crucial step of my counterattack. I took out my burner phone and drafted a text to Daisy. A short message, but with enough destructive power to detonate any blindly jealous woman. Asterisk. "Hi Daisy, it's your friendly acquaintance again. Just giving you a heads up. This weekend, Hunter is taking his wife to the Cloud Peak Resort in the Cascades for a baby moon. He told his friends he's going to rekindle his romance with her, cut ties with you, and go back to his wife and that $2.5 million house. If you don't move fast to keep your man, you're going to lose everything. And your kid will be born fatherless." Asterisk message sent. I snapped the SIM card and threw it into the public trash can down in the courtyard. I pictured Daisy losing her mind in her luxury condo, smashing things and calling Hunter frantically. But Hunter definitely wouldn't dare answer, or he'd lie his way around it. Suspicion would force Daisy into action, and I was certain she would track him down to the resort to catch him in the act or demand her rights. Daisy's appearance at the resort would be the variable Hunter could never predict. It would shatter his perfect murder plot, turning his staged accident into a tragicomic farce. I packed my suitcase, smoothing out the baggy maternity dresses I had bought, thinking to myself, asterisk, this play needs a full cast to be fun. You want to play for high stakes? I'll match you to the bitter end. Asterisk. Saturday morning. The sky was crystal clear, the sun pouring down like liquid gold, but the atmosphere inside our car was dark and suffocating. Hunter had woken up very early, buzzing around loading luggage, whistling happily as if he were the luckiest man alive. Martha stood at the door to see us off. Hands on her hips, her eyes narrowed at me with a scrutinizing, oddly gleeful look. It was the look of a farmer watching a fattened pig being led to the slaughterhouse. "Have a fun trip, daughter-in-law," she said, her voice dripping with artificial sweetness that made my skin crawl. "Remember to walk carefully. Don't go climbing around and fall. My grandson is the most important thing. If anything happens to you, don't blame me for being cruel." "Yes, I know, Mom. Take care of your health while we're gone," I replied, forcing a smile, though waves of revulsion crashed inside me. Was she playing the caring mother-in-law, or subtly foreshadowing the tragic end her son had planned for me? The car rolled out, leaving the noisy city behind. Hunter drove very slowly, occasionally turning to ask me, "Are you tired? Thirsty? Is the seat comfortable?" This excessive care only put me on higher alert. Halfway there, Hunter reached for a bottle of water in the door console. The cap was already cracked. He handed it to me. "Drink some water so you don't get dehydrated." I bought alkaline water. It's great for pregnant women. I held the bottle, looking at the clear liquid inside. The seal was broken. Was it laced with sedatives, a roofie, or some other poison? I wasn't taking any chances. Taking advantage of Hunter, focusing on passing a semi-truck, I brought the bottle to my lips, but tilted it so the water spilled into a wad of tissues in my hand. I swallowed loudly, smacking my lips. "So refreshing, honey." Then, I quickly screwed the cap back on and accidentally let it slip from my fingers, rolling under the passenger seat. "Oh shoot, I'm so clumsy." I dropped it. "Whatever, honey. I'll drink later when we get there," I said, sounding apologetic. Hunter glanced down at the floorboard, a flash of irritation crossing his face, but he quickly regained his composure. "It's fine. I'll buy you another one when we get there. Just take a nap." I closed my eyes, leaning my head against the window, faking deep sleep. Through squinted eyes, I saw Hunter occasionally checking on me, his gaze cold and dead, completely different from his earlier fawning. Was he checking if the drugs had kicked in, or calculating the best moment to strike? Instrumental music played softly from the speakers, but to me, it sounded like a requiem. I gripped my stomach, feeling my racing heart. This car wasn't taking us to a vacation paradise. It was driving me into the wolf's den. After over 2 hours of driving, the car turned onto a narrow, pine-shadowed road leading to Cloud Peak Resort. The place was isolated on a mountainside, the air biting cold, shrouded in a thin, eerie fog that made it beautiful but deeply treacherous. Hunter had booked a bungalow sitting at the highest elevation, completely detached from the main hub, backing up against a rock wall, with its front facing a plunging abyss. Entering the room, I had to admit the scenery was breathtaking, but its bone-chilling isolation made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. There wasn't a soul around. The resort's security cameras were only installed at the reception and restaurant. The trails leading up here were absolute blind spots. It truly was the perfect location for a traceless accident. "What do you think?" "Like it." Hunter hugged my waist from behind, whispering in my ear. His hot breath against my neck gave me goosebumps. "It's beautiful, honey." "So quiet," I replied, trying to control my rapid breathing. "Rest for a bit. I'm going to take a quick shower." Driving cramped me up, Hunter said, grabbing his toiletry bag and heading to the bathroom. The moment the shower turned on, I sprang into action. I rushed to his duffel bag, rummaging through it at lightning speed. Clothes, chargers, wallet, everything looked normal. But when I felt the bottom of the bag, I discovered a hidden compartment sewn cleverly under the lining. I unzipped it. Inside was a small, brown glass vial with no label, containing a clear, slightly viscous liquid. I unscrewed the cap and brought it to my nose. A pungent, harsh, slightly sweet chemical odor hit me unlike any massage oil I knew. It smelled like ether, or some industrial solvent meant to cause hallucinations or act as an extreme slipping agent. Next to the vial were thin, disposable latex medical gloves and plastic shoe covers. Why would someone bring latex gloves and shoe covers on a romantic getaway with their wife? The answer was glaringly obvious. He wanted to commit the act without leaving fingerprints or footprints. He was going to use this liquid to make me slip, or drug me, then put on the gloves and push me off the cliff. My hands shook violently. I grabbed my phone, snapped pictures of the evidence, and recorded a short video showing exactly where I found them. Then I carefully put everything back, zipping the hidden compartment closed exactly as it was. Just then, the shower stopped. I threw my phone on the bed and grabbed a travel magazine from the table, pretending to be engrossed in it. The bathroom door opened. Hunter stepped out with a towel wrapped around his waist, wet hair falling over his forehead. He smiled at me. "What are you looking at, wifey? Let's go to dinner soon." I booked a very romantic table. Yeah. Just looking at some local trails, I looked up and smiled back, our eyes locking. In that moment, I saw the reflection of a murderer hiding beneath the shell of a perfect husband. Tonight's dinner would likely be the last supper of this marriage. I sat across from Hunter, watching the candlelight flicker across the handsome face I once loved so deeply, wondering how a person could mutate into something so terrifying. The man tenderly cutting my steak for me was the same man hiding a deadly vial in his luggage, waiting for the moment to push me into the abyss. Hunter poured red wine into 2 crystal glasses, the liquid shimmering like blood. He pushed one toward himself. Mine was filled with fruit juice, but I noticed he had held my glass for quite a while before handing it to me. He raised his glass, his eyes brimming with emotion, his deep voice resonating. "Wifey. A toast to this trip, to our baby's future, and to our lifelong happiness." I looked at the golden orange juice in front of me, the image of the unlabeled vial flashing in my mind. Was there something in this? Roofies, poison, or just juice? I wasn't betting my life on it. I smiled, raised my glass, and clinked it against his, making a sharp dry times clink asterisk. "Thank you, honey, for everything," I said, my voice choking, tears pooling in my eyes. I thought after all our ups and downs, we'd never be like we used to. But seeing you like this today, I'm so happy. Taking advantage of Hunter tipping his head back to down his wine, I brought the glass to my lips but tilted my hand, spilling some onto my baggy maternity dress. "Oh! Shoot, I'm so clumsy. I got my dress wet," I exclaimed, grabbing a napkin to wipe it, while swiftly dumping half the glass's contents into a thick cloth napkin on my lap, then stuffing it into my purse. The whole sequence took less than a second. When Hunter put his glass down, I placed my half-empty glass on the table, pretending I had just drunk from it. "Did you drink? Is it good?" Hunter asked, his eyes scanning me closely. "So good, honey. Very sweet," I replied, suppressing my racing heart. Hunter smiled in satisfaction. He started reminiscing about the past, the day we met in college, his proposal in the rain, our early struggles. He painted a bright picture of our future, with the $2.5 million house and our bouncing baby boy. His tone was so sincere that, had I not known the truth, I would have believed him completely and died willingly for him. But right as the atmosphere was drowning in this sickeningly sweet facade, Hunter's phone rang loudly, shattering the quiet. He jumped, glanced at the screen, and quickly flipped the phone face down on the table, his face draining of color. "Why aren't you answering?" "It might be an emergency," I asked, my voice innocent, but my eyes razor sharp. "Just a spam number. Probably selling insurance or real estate. Ignore it. Tonight is just about us." Hunter laughed awkwardly, his hand trembling slightly. The ringing stopped, then immediately started again, frantic and persistent. This time, I clearly saw the screen light up with the name Baby, how he saved Daisy in his phone. The fish had bitten the hook. My text had made Daisy unable to sit still. She was calling to check. Or maybe she was already very close by. Hunter frustratingly powered the phone off and shoved it into his jacket pocket. There, turned it off. Eat up, the food's getting cold. I picked up my fork and speared a piece of meat, but it felt like chewing on straw. After dinner, Hunter checked his watch, looking somewhat anxious. He observed me carefully, probably wondering why I wasn't showing signs of drowsiness or dizziness after drinking the juice he thought I swallowed. However, the plan was set in motion. He couldn't stop now. "Wifey, the moon is so beautiful tonight. Let's go for a walk to digest," Hunter suggested, trying to sound excited, but I heard the tremor in his voice. Behind the restaurant, there's a trail leading to an observation rock. I hear the view of the valley is stunning. I looked out the window. Pitch-black darkness swallowed everything, with only weak, silvery moonlight piercing through the dense fog. The trail he mentioned, I had studied the map. It was the most remote area of the resort. No lights, no cameras, and crucially, right on the edge of a sheer cliff. That was where he had chosen to end my life. "Sure, a walk sounds nice. I'm feeling a bit full," I agreed, standing up and putting on a light cardigan. I subtly touched the micro-recorder pinned inside my bra and felt the GPS tracker in my shoe. Everything was ready. We stepped out of the restaurant and onto the uneven cobblestone path. The night mountain wind was freezing, whistling through the pines, creating a sound like a morning wail. Hunter gripped my hand tightly. His hand was ice-cold and drenched in sweat. He walked very fast, seemingly eager to drag me to the designated spot as quickly as possible. "Honey, slow down. I'm pregnant. I get tired walking fast." I feigned being out of breath, stumbling slightly. "Come on, we're almost there. It's beautiful. You'll love it." Hunter didn't slow down. He gripped my hand even tighter, as if afraid I'd change my mind and turn back. The deeper we went into the trail, the thicker the fog became. The warm yellow lights of the restaurant were left far behind. All that remained was darkness and the chirping of insects. I felt the danger closing in. Hunter stopped talking. His silence was terrifying, his breathing heavy. At a bend hidden behind a massive boulder, where one side was a sheer rock wall and the other a pitch-black abyss, Hunter abruptly stopped. He let go of my hand, turned, and looked at me. Under the dim moonlight, his face looked distorted and alien. Gone was the fake, caring facade, replaced by a cold, ruthless expression, his eyes bloodshot and wide. "Beautiful, isn't it?" he asked, his voice hoarse, echoing off the rock wall. I took a step back, pressing my back against the boulder, feigning a shiver. It's beautiful, but it's so cold, honey. Let's go back. I'm scared." "Scared of what?" "I'm right here." Hunter took a step forward, pinning me against the rock. He reached into his pocket, the pocket where I knew he was hiding the vial and the gloves. "You know what, Chloe? I have waited for this moment for so long. The $2.5 million house, the insurance money, my freedom, it's all right in front of me." My heart pounded, not from fear, but from anticipation. The moment of truth had arrived. I needed him to say it all. I needed him to confess his crimes before I delivered the final blow. I looked him straight in the eyes, tears streaming down. "Honey, what are you talking about? I don't understand." The mountain wind howled, blowing my messy hair around. Hunter stood blocking my escape. His long shadow fell across the damp ground, overlapping mine like a ghost. He laughed a manic, chilling laugh that tore through the quiet night. He pulled the latex gloves from his pocket and slowly snapped them onto his hands, every movement deliberate, like a surgeon prepping for a fatal operation. "You don't understand? Or are you playing dumb?" Hunter snarled. The sweet honey was gone, replaced by pure, venomous contempt. "Did you think I ever loved you? Did you think I wanted that bastard in your belly? I am sick to death of your miserable face, always caring about nothing but your career. I need money, Chloe. I need a lot of money to take care of Daisy and our baby." To live the life I deserve. I pressed harder against the rock, clutching my stomach, my voice shaking but intentionally loud so the mic would pick up every syllable. You're cheating on me with Daisy? You want to leave me for her. What about our baby? How could you? Do you think I believe you're actually pregnant? Hunter cut me off, his eyes sharp as daggers. Whether you're pregnant or not, you die tonight. Only if you die do I get it all. I bought life insurance on you, Chloe. $5 million. Plus the accident clause makes it $10 million. Asterisk $10 million. Asterisk, you could work your corporate job your whole life and never see that kind of money. You dying is your final contribution to this family. The words times I bought life insurance on you. Times rang out, cold and ruthless, searing into my mind. This was the ironclad proof I needed. He had confessed his despicable motive for murder with his own mouth. My blood boiled, my fury completely overpowered my fear. You're a monster. You kill me, aren't you afraid of the law? I screamed, secretly pressing the emergency SOS button on the GPS tracker in my pocket. The law? Hunter scoffed, stepping closer. He held the uncapped vial, the harsh smell of ether flooding the air. Out here in the middle of nowhere, who's going to know I killed you? I'll say you got dizzy and slipped off the cliff. I'll cry my eyes out. I'll play the devastated husband. Who will suspect me? My mom? She wants you dead even more than I do. He lunged forward, aiming to press the chemical-soaked rag over my mouth. I was prepared. Fast as lightning, I ducked to the side, making him miss entirely. His hand smashed into the rock wall, and he howled in pain. You dare dodge me? Hunter roared, spinning around, his face twisted in rage. He charged at me wildly again, backing me toward the edge of the cliff. I retreated until my heels touched the slippery grass right at the lip of the bottomless drop. The updraft from the abyss sent a freezing chill up my spine. I knew I couldn't physically overpower a man in a bloodthirsty frenzy. I need backup. I took a deep breath and screamed at the top of my lungs. Daisy, did you hear that? He's trying to kill me. Do you want to be next? My scream echoed through the mountains, making Hunter freeze for a split second. He looked around wildly, confused about who I was talking to. And in that moment of bewilderment, from the dense bushes behind the large boulder, a heavy figure stepped out. It was Daisy, 7 months pregnant, her massive belly protruding, panting heavily from hiking the mountain trail. She was wearing a striking red maternity dress that stood out starkly in the gloom. In her hand, she held her phone, the video recording light blazing like a spotlight, aimed right at Hunter's face. Hunter froze like he was struck by lightning. His eyes widened to the extreme. His mouth fell open, but no words came out. The vial of liquid slipped from his hand, shattering on the ground, the chemical stench rising sharply. He looked at Daisy, then at me, his expression shifting from aggressive rage to absolute, abject horror. He could never have predicted that the mistress he was trying to hide, the woman he planned to lavish with my blood money, would appear here. At the exact moment, he revealed his true form as a demon. Daisy. What? What are you doing here? Hunter stammered, his voice weak and shaking. Daisy didn't answer his question. She charged at him, swinging her expensive designer handbag, beating Hunter mercilessly. She hit him and screamed, tears streaming down her face, ruining her heavy makeup. You bastard! You murderer! You were actually going to kill your wife. You lied to me. You told me you were just going to divorce her. How could you do something so monstrous? It turned out that while Daisy was greedy and shameless enough to steal a husband, she had never considered murder. She just wanted money and a title. She didn't want to be implicated in a horrific homicide. My text message and the scene she just witnessed triggered a deep, primal fear in her. If Hunter could kill the wife he had slept next to for 3 years, who's to say he wouldn't kill her and their baby once he got bored of them? Baby, calm down. Let me explain. Hunter tried to block her hits, but Daisy's appearance had entirely broken his spirit. He backed up, nearly slipping over the edge himself. Explain what? I heard everything. You bought a $10 million policy to kill your wife. You're a demon, Daisy screamed, pointing right in his face. I'm calling the cops. I am not living with a murderer. Shut up! Hunter roared, grabbing Daisy's wrist, his eyes bloodshot. In his desperation, the beast inside him reared its head again. He realized he was backed into a corner. If you call the cops, you lose everything too. You think you're innocent? Where do you think the money I spend on you comes from? You're an accomplice. I stood leaning against the rock, watching the chaos unfold, feeling absolutely nothing. Two traitors tearing each other apart. Asterisk. Time to drop the curtain. Asterisk. I straightened my clothes, took a step forward, and spoke with a steely voice that cut through their screaming. Enough. Neither of you needs to argue. The police are already on their way. Hunter and Daisy both snapped their heads to look at me. Hunter looked like a ghost. Daisy was shivering uncontrollably. Right on cue, from the trail, flashlight beams swept through the fog, accompanied by the heavy thud of running boots. Freeze! Police! A booming voice rang out. It was the two private investigators and the resort security team I had hired, coordinating with local county sheriffs. They rushed in, swiftly subduing Hunter, wrenching his arms behind his back. The cold steel of handcuffs snapped around his wrists with a dry Times click asterisk, ending the freedom of a greedy, vicious man. Hunter was pinned to the ground, his face pressed into the wet grass. He looked up at me, his eyes full of begging and despair. Chloe, wifey, save me. I was wrong. I just lost my mind for a second. I looked down at him without a single ounce of pity. You didn't lose your mind, Hunter. You calculated this perfectly. It's just a pity you made one wrong move. You forgot that even a worm will turn, and the wife you look down on knows how to protect herself. Daisy stood to the side, her face drained of blood, clutching her belly and trembling. She looked at me, tried to speak, but stopped, hanging her head in shame and terror. She was also detained to be brought to the station for questioning, as a witness and person of interest. I watched the officers lead Hunter away. His gait was unsteady, his head hung low, his shadow stretching long on the trail, isolated and pathetic. He bought a $10 million policy on my life, but all he got in return was a prison sentence and the contempt of society. The money, the status, the mistress, it all vanished like the fog on Cloud Peak. That night, I sat in the sheriff's station writing my statement, surrounded by the dry clacking of keyboards. I wrote down every detail, every pain I had endured. Every word I wrote was a slash to my own wounded heart, but it was also cutting out the cancer of my past. When I placed the final period on that statement, I knew I had officially closed the book on this marriage built on lies. Stepping out of the station, dawn was breaking. The fog began to lift, revealing the first rays of the new day. I took a deep breath of the freezing morning air, cold, but pure and clean. The news of Hunter being arrested for attempted murder and insurance fraud spread like wildfire. By noon the next day, right as I got back to Seattle and stopped by my office to grab some papers, a tragicomic farce unfolded right in the lobby of my building. Martha, the pitiful, half-paralyzed mother-in-law, having received the horrific news about her precious son, immediately took an Uber straight to my office to cause a scene. I was standing at the reception desk when I heard ear-piercing screams from the entrance. Martha burst in, looking disheveled, her hair a mess. But strangely, she wasn't using a cane, nor was she dragging her leg like she usually did. She charged into the lobby like a tornado, pointing right in my face and screaming, "You bitch! Give me my son back. You set him up. You're a viper. You wanted to kill my family to steal our assets." The building's security guards rushed over to intervene, but her strength at that moment was so superhuman that two burly men struggled to hold her back. She thrashed, kicked, and swung her arms, spewing the most vulgar curses imaginable. "Oh, Lord help me. The daughter-in-law is killing her husband. She put my son in jail. The injustice. God in heaven." I stood with my arms crossed, calmly watching her put on her show. Co-workers and clients in the lobby began to gather. Everyone was whispering. Some pulled out their phones to record. I stepped closer to her, my voice cold but loud enough for everyone to hear. "Mom, how come you're so healthy today? Usually, you're paralyzed on your left side. I have to carry you to the bathroom. How are you fighting the security guards like a martial artist right now?" My words were like a bucket of ice water to Martha's face. She froze. She looked down at her own two sturdy legs planted firmly on the ground, then looked around at the crowd pointing at her. Her face turned bright red, then ghostly pale. In her blind rage over her son, she had completely forgotten the disabled persona she had painstakingly curated for months. I, Martha stammered, attempting to fake a faint and collapse to the floor to cover it up. But it was too late. Dozens of smartphone cameras had captured the entire scene of her sprinting and fighting like an athlete. Everyone, take a good look, I addressed the crowd. This is my paralyzed mother-in-law, whom I served hand and foot for months. She and her son plotted to murder me for a $10 million insurance payout. Now that her son was caught red-handed, she comes here to play the victim. The whispering turned into mocking laughter and stares of pure disgust aimed at Martha. Asterisk, oh my God, so old, but such a good actor. Asterisk, disgusting. Strong as an ox, but forcing her daughter-in-law to wait on her. Asterisk, like mother, like son, pure evil. Asterisk, those words were arrows piercing whatever shred of dignity Martha had left. Unable to handle the pressure, she let out a wail, covered her face, and sprinted out the doors, completely abandoning her fake limp. Her figure disappeared through the revolving doors, pathetic and utterly humiliated. The video of the miraculous mother-in-law instantly went viral on social media, making her a laughingstock, the perfect price to pay for the deceit she had sown. The divorce proceedings were swift, following the conclusion of Hunter's criminal investigation. I walked into the courtroom with my head held high, no longer the enduring wife of the past, but a woman who had conquered her fate. Hunter sat at the defendant's table in a striped jumpsuit, his head shaved, looking 10 years older. He didn't dare look me in the eye, just stared at the floor, his shoulders shaking. Faced with ironclad evidence, the audio files, the resort video, the witness testimonies, Hunter had no choice but to plead guilty. The judge sentenced him to 15 years in federal prison for attempted murder and insurance fraud, a fitting punishment for a man whose greed blinded him enough to try to take the life of the woman he slept next to. As for the divorce, the judge ruled that I kept all my premarital assets, including the downtown condo, since the deed was in my name and my parents had helped with the down payment. The funds in our joint savings accounts were overwhelmingly awarded to me as compensation for emotional distress and punitive damages. Did Hunter leave empty-handed? Actually, he left with massive legal debts and a long prison sentence. That $2.5 million inheritance house I made up, it obviously never existed. When Hunter learned the truth, he screamed in his cell like a wounded animal. He hated that he had been conned so badly, hated that his own greed had pushed him right into that sweet trap. But what good was hate? It was too late. As for Daisy, she also met a bitter end. After Hunter was arrested, she gave birth to a healthy baby boy. But ironically, when she requested a DNA test to establish paternity, hoping to scrape some inheritance or child support from Hunter's family, the results showed Hunter was not the father. It turned out that while sleeping with Hunter, she had been seeing another man as an insurance policy for herself. When Martha heard this news, her blood pressure spiked so high she was rushed to the ER. Her dreams of an heir to carry on the family name, of wealth and luxury, went up in smoke. She was left with nothing, her son in prison, the farm in Idaho sold to pay for defense attorneys to no avail. She had to live as a vagabond, relying on the charity of distant relatives, listening to the sneers of society every single day. Stepping out of the courthouse, I took a deep breath. The sky today was brilliant blue, without a single cloud. I looked back at the imposing courthouse doors one last time, then turned and walked away. I didn't look back, because behind me was a painful past that was now buried. I didn't hate them anymore. They had paid too high a price for what they did. The greatest punishment wasn't prison, but the torment of conscience and lifelong isolation. I hailed a cab and told the driver, "To the airport, please." I had a long trip ahead, not to run away, but to begin a new journey, a journey to find myself. 3 months later, I sat on the balcony of a beautiful apartment overlooking Marina Bay in Singapore, a glass of red wine catching the sunset's glow in my hand. The ocean breeze was cool, carrying the salty scent of the sea, making my silk dress flutter. I had accepted an offer to transfer to the agency's global headquarters here, an opportunity I had turned down half a dozen times before, tied down by family and trying to please my husband. Now, at 30, I was starting a new life in a foreign country, but my heart was strangely at peace. My phone buzzed on the table. A text from my mom back in the States. Asterisk. Hey, sweetie. I heard from some folks that Martha is selling cheap trinkets at a flea market back in Idaho, looking miserable. She ran into someone we know and just cried, saying how much she regretted it, saying if she had treated you better, none of this would have happened. I felt a little pity, but I guess it's the karma she has to carry. Asterisk. I read the text and smiled faintly. A small ripple of pity rose in me, but quickly settled. I wasn't gloating, but I harbored no resentment either. Karma in this world is fair. You reap what you sow. Her belated regret couldn't erase the trauma she caused me, but it was the final period marking the end of the tragic debt between us. I put the phone down, looking out toward the horizon where the sun was slowly sinking into the ocean, dyeing the water crimson. The day was ending, but it was also preparing for a brighter, more brilliant dawn. I remembered the Chloe from 3 months ago, the disheveled woman living in anxiety and fear, constantly forcing herself to play the perfect wife and daughter-in-law in a house built on lies. The Chloe of today was different. I am free, independent, and I know how to love myself more than anyone else. Through the storm, I realized that a woman doesn't need to lean on anyone to find happiness. Happiness isn't found in a husband, in empty promises, or in superficial assets handed out by others. Happiness lies right in your own 2 hands and your own mind. When you are strong enough to let go of what isn't worthy, you realize how vast and beautiful this world truly is. I raised my glass of wine, clinking it against the empty space in front of me. Cheers to Chloe. Cheers to rebirth. I downed the wine, feeling the slight bitterness on my tongue before it melted into a deep, lingering sweetness. Tomorrow, I have a massive pitch presentation, and I know I am going to shine. Life is still so long and wide. The scars from the past might never fully fade, but they will become medals, reminding me of my own resilience. I smiled, embracing the strong ocean wind, ready to spread my wings and fly toward new horizons where only joy and peace await. I hope this story has provided you with profound moments of reflection and given you the motivation to live a stronger, more empowered life. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, drop a like, and leave a comment below to share your thoughts with us. Thank you for listening. Goodbye, and see you in our next story.